Salutations, shipmates. Automatic here for Automatic Games. Thanks for joining me for this Season 1 recap. And not only is it a recap, it's a special episode, which I've entitled The Hot Squad. And my motivation in naming it that will be revealed about mid-episode, so too will the identity of the woman you're seeing on screen now. But before we get to that, let's turn our attention to the Avenger, which is currently set down in an undisclosed forested location. And it seems awful calm out here. Easy, perhaps, to forget that we are in the midst of a life or death struggle. Of course, the XCOM personnel have plenty of reminders of that fact. Be it the nicks or dents in their armor, or the scars borne by their brothers and sisters in arms, or the Avenger Memorial, which of course bears a plaque dedicated to our one and only KIA thus far. And all of this combined certainly merits much needed rest and relaxation for our personnel. And in fact, not far from this location, there's a resistance base where many of our personnel are seeking shore leave, for lack of a better term. And even those that remain aboard the Avenger are engaging in some much needed R&R. Everyone's been assured that over the next few days we will not be called to action. Now, up in the top right-hand corner of your screen, you're catching your very first glimpse of the commander himself. And I know that it says Automatic under his visage on the monitor, but his name's not Automatic. It couldn't be. That's the code name of one of our grunts. But let's just say that that's a corporation that manufactures these monitors. And Manny can tell you, it's also the corporation that makes automatic doors, and they stand behind their products. And if you ever get a chance to peruse their catalog, you'll be highly impressed. We're talking some quality merchandise. Now, granted, I'm biased, I am a shareholder, but nonetheless, that's what we'll chalk that up to. If the commander's going to have a name, let's call him Commander Carlisle. And yes, I just pulled that name out of my rear end, but it'll stick. It'll work. Most things I pull out of my rear end do stick. Oh man, I almost feel like I should stop the commentary there and just call it a day. Okay, no. Okay, I wanted to talk about some notable moments in the first season, but I want to preface by saying that when I first embarked in this endeavor, I sincerely thought that nobody would watch this series. And I thought that because, for one, XCOM 2 is not necessarily the newest of games. Nobody's going to watch it and be like, wow, I just watch it for the graphics, man. It's a strategy title, and I don't think that strategy games necessarily, attract a whole hell of a lot of attention. And moreover, I knew that some of these episodes would run long. I'm altogether uncomfortable posting a 40-plus minute video. I mean, I could post 2 20-minute long videos back to back and not blink an eye, but as soon as I hit that 40-minute mark, I just kind of stop and think like, oh man, this is the part where people stop watching and they unsubscribe. But that didn't pan out, and I'm altogether grateful for that. I've said it before, but it merits saying again. I can't thank you enough for watching this. I really do appreciate it. It inspires me to keep on with this. And full disclosure, I would keep doing it anyways, but I just wouldn't be as galvanized as I currently am. So okay, let's talk about some notable moments from the first season. And the first thing that comes to mind is any time that we roll out new combat personnel. And not even just the initial rollout. I mean, when we pick up one new recruit here, or 3 of them there, I definitely enjoyed doing the backstories for them. And I hope you do too. And I like getting into the squad dynamics. I don't want to go full throttle with that because I don't want to bog you down with manufactured drama. But at the same time, I have fun doing it. Let's see, another notable aspect of the first season was definitely the Shen's Last Gift DLC. After all, it spanned the course of 3 episodes in which Alpha Squad confronted an exceedingly frustrating AI, dubbing itself Julian. But in the end, we frustrated Julian's designs, and we came out on top. We actually did come out on top of the building, and were shuttled away after fighting the evil robot from RoboCop. And so yeah, that was certainly a big portion of the first season. Another notable moment had to be episode 12, where we incurred our first KIA. And when Cider died, I sincerely felt like crap. I felt like, dude, I'm sorry I didn't protect you. But, you gotta chalk it up to the RNG, the random number generation. I mean, Cider wasn't even wounded when he was hit, and it was just a one-hit kill. And frankly, Cider, if you're watching this, I wouldn't have blamed you if you just stopped watching at that moment. If you were just like, they kill me off? Well, I'm not watching this crap. If it helps to ease your anguish, I will personally visit the Avenger Memorial on a daily basis and cry my balls off, which is a sight to see despite being both borderline voyeuristic and wholly inappropriate. Another honorable mention would be the season finale, the Black Site mission where Bravo Squad made off with Advent's free samples, but that's what you get for offering gratuity. Folks take advantage. And I'd be remiss not to mention Van Dorn's uniform mandate. When that transpired, one could not help but think, damn dude, you're stripping these soldiers of their identities, and he was. But it was closely followed by that victory aboard the Sky Ranger when Snugs and Lead revealed that they had vandalized their uniforms and brought along their do-rags anyways. Speaking of Colonel Van Dorn, he is seated on the couch just behind Corky, and seated to the left of his mentor is CJ. Corky is having a discussion with Dan Richards, no doubt trying to convince him to commit to Charlie's squad, but Boot will have none of it. He prefers to fall in with Bravo Squad, that of his sister, but of course that decision is not his to make. It rests with senior command, that is to say, Bradford, Van Dorn, and the commander himself. Well, here's 4 soldiers that are spending their leave working out aboard the Avenger. Got Reaper doing chin-ups, Valdez doing crunches or squats or something along those lines. And it suddenly dawns on me that Weasel is the only squad leader that took advantage of shore leave. The other 2 squad leaders remain aboard the Avenger, seeing the business, I guess. And there in the background on the treadmill, you've got J-Bone, and then you've got Otto. I thought he was just laying down. I guess he's doing sit-ups. And more dynamic drama. Otto has a serious thing for J-Bone. But it must be unrequited love at this point because she has not expressed the same emotions towards him. Either way, he'll keep at her. Albeit behind Van Dorn's back, because fraternization is a big no-no. However, it's only natural. I mean, you've got a lot of people aboard this ship, and relationships are going to form, whether Van Dorn is aware of it, approves of it, or not. It's just gonna happen. Case in point. Behind the bar, you've got Snugs. On our side of the bar, you've got Manny. And they're a couple, but they're keeping it on the down low for fear of Van Dorn's wrath. And they are talking with Stonewall. And you may remember a few episodes ago we brought aboard, I don't recall if she was a scientist or an engineer, but her name was Leah Jackson. And I wondered if there was any relation. Well, as it turns out, that's Jackson's ex-wife. But apparently there's still a spark there because they have a relationship renewed. So good for them. Again, it's hush-hush. Now let's take a moment and cry our balls off. No, seriously though, if there's any consolation for Cider, it is that if Corky remains on his present course, then the rest of Charlie's squad will be joining Cider on this wall soon enough. Oh, I shouldn't say that. CJ and Black Widow, among others, would certainly take umbrage with that statement, but it might be true. In truth, though, all the squads have performed admirably. Alpha, Bravo, they were aboard the Avenger when this series kicked off. Charlie's squad was deployed at the time, but they joined us around episode 3 or 4. In fact, the only squad that hasn't really panned out is Delta Squad. Now, the average viewer may ask, what the hell is Delta Squad? Well, that's understandable because they've been working in a classified fashion. You may remember Jane Kelly from the very first episode. Well, we never found out what became of her, and there is much more to her story than I've previously disclosed. For one, she's excruciatingly attractive. She's got this real Jill Valentine vibe about her. But to truly understand Delta Squad, we've got to go back to March of 2035.
Commander, Jane Kelly was instrumental in the op to get you back. She earned enough experience for a promotion. We should take care of that now.
And this was the beginning of Season 1. It was a time when the Avenger was actually grounded, lacking a power converter from Tashi Station. It wasn't going anywhere. It was just kind of sitting in a canyon near a resistance base. And so it wasn't a mobile headquarters, yet it was still our headquarters. And so Jane Kelly and Delta Squad were tasked with remedying this and getting us airborne, which they did with flying colors.
We're off to a good start. Our troops will only get stronger as they gain experience. I heard you, Shen. When we get the thing, you'll be the first to know.
Attention. Unauthorized presence detected.
Commander, give me a second. Execute Echelon Protocol.
Attention. Senior Command Exchange confirmed.
I had wanted that to be a little more ceremonious, but we've got something. A local resistance cell just located this hybrid magnetic power converter that Shen's been pushing us to find. They tracked the device to a nearby Advent convoy and are attempting to take it down. If we can bring this converter back in one piece, we might actually get this place up and running and give the aliens a real war for a change. The squad is prepped and ready to launch on your order, Commander. Just give the word.
Now, at that time, Delta Squad consisted of Jane Kelly, codenamed Baby Jane. She was a intelligence analyst, and she was joined by Staci Fallon, codenamed Player and engineer. Lee Massod, codenamed Covert, ordnance specialist, and Ciera Jeffories, codenamed C-Def, an underdressed shooting instructor for XCOM. And that was the entirety of the team. It was a 4-man squad.
Communications with resistance forces in the area have gone dark, which can only mean one thing. These people sacrificed everything to give us this shot. We need to recover that converter at all costs.
Perhaps with the exception of Lee Massod, Carl Ham was observant when he dubbed Delta Squad the Hot Squad. And we will take a look at their files post-mission. But yeah, in this mission, they were to stabilize and secure a power converter with which we would use to get the Avenger up and running again. And so this was after their commander had been rescued, but just prior to Alpha Squad flying out to Toronto in our first declassified mission to destroy that Elder statue. And so sure enough, Firebrand brought Delta out into the combat zone, and Delta was boots on the ground.
Commander, getting a fix on the device, but it looks like it may have been damaged during the fight. Energy readings are going crazy. I'm guessing we don't have much time before it explodes.
Kelly earned for herself a much-deserved solid reputation with XCOM senior staff. However, she didn't receive some of the acclaim that she would have otherwise, due to the fact that Delta Squad's operations were deemed classified. This never seemed to bother her. She was the consummate professional.
We're not sure whether to chalk it up to training or strict.
But, to evidence that, here we are months later, just now talking about the first mission that Delta Squad participated in. Now, one could ask, wasn't the rescue of the commander a Delta Squad op? And no, it wasn't. This despite the fact that Jane Kelly participated. And the two soldiers that aided her in that effort, codenamed Gatecrasher 1 and Gatecrasher 2, they were independent contractors, mercenaries for lack of a better word, in fact hired by Jane Kelly.
Already there.
And as part of her MOS, as an intelligence analyst, she worked closely with various resistance cells' leadership, and she went about hiring or collecting data, analyzing it, and passing it on to the commander or Van Dorn or Bradford. And the secretive nature of her job kind of fed in to this air of mystery that surrounded her. Over the course of her service to XCOM, more than one male service member made a pass at her on one occasion or another, and every single time they were rebuked. And this fed into the notion, true or not, that Jane Kelly was a lesbian. And it was only aided by her close involvement with the administrator for the Vigilant Resistance Cell. And the Vigilant Resistance Cell, it's the West Coast cell situated around Vancouver that serves as XCOM's ground headquarters. And it's headed up by a woman we called the Den Mother. Okay, we've got two on the grid. One Advent officer and one trooper. Everyone went into Overwatch, with the exception of Jane Kelly, and she is going to initiate combat by closing in on this trooper.
They found us.
And she cuts him to pieces, catches that officer off guard. The officer, realizing he's outnumbered, attempts to bolt. CDEV scores a hit. Player fires and misses. And Covert delivers the finishing blow, resulting in the grid being cleared once more. So Jane Kelly would spend a lot of time at the Vigilant Resistance Cell headquarters, and when she'd spend the night, she would always spend the night at the Den Mother's residence, and so that too kind of fueled the rumors about her orientation. And fueling those rumors further was the fact that she wanted to staff Delta Squad with a majority of women. In fact, when it comes to J-Bone, she wanted to hire J-Bone as the 5th member of Delta Squad, and at that point she found herself at odds with Weasel, who was arguing for J-Bone as well, for her joining Bravo Squad. And he rested his case on the notion that when he was younger, he effected the rescue of both J-Bone and her brother from Atlanta. That impressed senior command, and they granted Weasel his wish. As you can see, Massod made entry. He's got eyes on the device.
Be able to hack into that thing's safety protocols and stabilize it. Shen is uploading the fix right now.
And the same could be said for Snugs. When she was first brought aboard the Avenger, Delta Squad was deployed. So when Jane Kelly returned to the Avenger, only to find out that Snugs had fallen with Alpha Squad, she lamented that fact. But there was nothing she could do. That ship had already sailed. We've got two more on the grid. This is another officer-trooper pairing. Player is, she's going to take a shot at the officer. And she takes a little bit of his health. Let's see, Massod is going to attempt to finish the officer off. And Massod is a longtime friend of Jane Kelly. In fact, he came with her from the UK. He's tossing a grenade. That'll do it for the Advent officer. And a lot of people see Massod as Jane Kelly's bodyguard. And in fact, despite the rumors that she's a lesbian, other people say that she had a relationship with Massod, so choose your rumor and go with it, I guess. Either one could have been true. We can attribute such speculation to her having so much charisma that people cannot help but wonder who she goes to bed at night with. What can I say? XCOM has some lustful soldiers among our ranks. And 3 have just emerged on the grid. 1 sectoid, 2 troopers. Now, as to Covert's relationship with Jane Kelly, just by very nature of his accompanying her from the UK, that's what produces this sense that he is her bodyguard, and he does express undivided loyalty to her. And that was a concern among senior XCOM officers, that he would show more deference to her than he would XCOM. But they reasoned that as long as she was subservient to the program, so too would he be. He's going to go into Overwatch. As to the other 2, CDEF and Player, they are instructors for both XCOM recruits and Resistance fighters alike. Player is going to deploy a grenade, attempting to break up the cover that sectoid is using. And she does a little bit of damage as well. Now, she is a fitness instructor, and she is in a ongoing relationship with another member of XCOM. We'll discuss more of that later. Jane Kelly takes a shot at the sectoid, but no joy.
Missed the target.
As to the sectoid, it is on the move. Covert takes a reaction shot. It's a hit, and he does good damage, leaving the sectoid barely clinging on to life. However, it is attempting to mind control, and it is successful. It now has control over Covert. Now, despite being the shooting instructor, CDEF fails to hit her mark. Trooper returns fire, and also fails to connect. The other trooper on our left flank is taking cover behind a burning car, which is never advisable. It opens fire on Jane Kelly. Fails to hit. The car explodes, and the trooper dies in the blast. So yeah, as to CDEF, beyond being a shooting instructor, she's a bit of a fashionista. Definitely fashion over function, hence the shorts in the snow. Jane Kelly cuts down the sectoid, thus freeing Covert from that mind control. And a lot of troopers feel like they have a relationship with CDEF. We can chalk that up to her being a bit overly flirtatious. She leads folks on, what can I say? Covert opens fire on the remaining trooper and puts it down.
Enemy down.
That clears the grid, and in fact that trooper may be the last Advent element in this area of operations. I guess we'll find out for sure once we stabilize that device.
Come get some.
And of this squad, there's nobody better suited to do just that than Player, seeing as beyond being a fitness instructor, she is also an engineer. So she'll go have a go at this hack. And it's good.
I've got access. Secure.
Well done. Readings are returning to normal. Well, mostly normal. Status confirmed.
The grid is clear.
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. So after that flawless victory, Delta Squad is aboard the Sky Ranger and en route back to the Avenger with the converter in tow. Post-discussion, one might understand why Carl Ham, codenamed Lead, dubs this squad the Hot Squad with the exception of Covert. And in fact, he has publicly advocated for an XCOM calendar featuring the girls of Delta. In addition, J-Bone, Snugs, and Lily Shen. There's only 6 girls, but he just said double them up to match the months. However, such a calendar never came to fruition. And that's altogether unfortunate. It could have been used as a fundraising tool. Anyways, Delta Squad is once again aboard the Avenger.
A few of our people earned well-deserved promotions, Commander. I'm guessing Shen will probably want to have a word with you too.
And the fields of specialization entered into by these Delta Squad members should come as no surprise to anyone. C-Def, being the shooting instructor that she is no less a marksman, or a markswoman. I don't mean to say Mark Jackson's woman, although she probably has led him on as well. That would fit with the story. Next up, Staci Fallon. Player, well, you know, it should come as no surprise to anybody that an engineer would be tantamount to a specialist in the field. And so, it is that Staci Fallon is a specialist, with a rover at her disposal. Lastly, it's Covert, who, by mere use of high explosives and a heavy machine gun, isn't very covert at all. No, Lee Massod is a grenadier. And so there you have it, folks.
These items should prove useful in our ongoing efforts against the aliens. When you have a moment, Commander, I have made some interesting discoveries as they relate to the implant we removed from you earlier.
So all that remains for this power converter is handing it over to Lily Shen and installment.
Why are you all just standing around? It's perfect. Come on, let's get it inside.
So, Commander Carlisle's late for a meeting with Dr. Ty, but let's close out by taking a look at Delta Squad's files.
Jane Kelly, codenamed Baby Jane, born Dublin, Ireland, 7 March 2002. Jane Kelly was instrumental in recruiting combat personnel for the new XCOM program, acting as a veritable talent scout while maintaining her role as a field intelligence officer. She doesn't speak much about her life before the invasion, but it is believed that she was a political operative in the United Kingdom government. She joined XCOM at the urging of John Bradford, and on the condition that her longtime friend Lee Massod be accepted as well. Ciera Jeffories, codename C-Def, born Louisville, Kentucky, 8 May 1997. Ciera was a fledgling fashion designer who fell in with Exalt when the invasion started. Disillusioned by the organization's views, she survived on her own for a number of years before settling down with a resistance group. Now, she designs uniforms for several anti-Advent forces. This flirtatious fighter keeps high spirits, even in troubling circumstances. Staci Fallon, codenamed Player, born Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 9 June 2013. Staci wanted to be a nurse, but ended up serving in a Cincinnati-based resistance cell as a combat engineer. It was there that she met Jared Williamson, and assisted him in taking down an Advent garrison commander. Soon after, the pair was contacted by XCOM and offered employment. The couple gladly accepted, with the hopes of further undermining their oppressors. She's an athletic girl and a part-time fitness instructor for recruits. Lee Massod, codename Covert, born Glasgow, Scotland, 18 April 2010. Lee's hometown was attacked by Exalt terrorists when he was a child. As he grew older, he fell in with a resistance cell that trained him in the proper use of arms. He used these skills to track down and eliminate a dozen members of the Exalt team that devastated his childhood home. He is cynical and jovial at times, but underneath this facade lies a cold-blooded killer.
So that'll do it for this, the first of our short series focusing on Delta Squad. Stay tuned, another installment will be up in a couple days, and then we'll get on to Season 2. Anyways, this is Automatic for Automatic Games. I do appreciate you joining me. If you like this, and if you are subscribed, I will talk to you soon, friends.